Welcome to tonight's episode of Beyond Focus TV. I'm your host, Lydia Patel, and as always, I have a very special guest for you. Two people here tonight who will be giving you some great information. Leslie Ann Samuel, who's the president of the Union of Jamaican Alumni Association, and Hubert Guscott, who's the president of Wilma's Alumni Association. They're both here tonight, and they'll be giving you a lot of information. So stay with us. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Beyond Focus TV allows you to discuss contemporary topics affecting the Caribbean people on both the national and local level. The show features informed guests who offer insight, debate, and evaluate various issues. Beyond Focus TV builds on the station's mission to provide useful information to the Caribbean people in New York and abroad. Beyond Focus TV, where our viewing audience can get educated, informed, and empowered. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel, sitting here with two great guests here tonight. I've got Leslie Ann and I've got Hubert Guscott here tonight, who really will be giving us a lot of information about the associations that they both represent. But even though they're separate, they come hand in hand and do work together, which is great.
Yes, we do.
So, Leslie Ann, welcome to the program, and Hubert, yourself too.
Thank you.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about how the association got started. It's the Union of Jamaican Alumni.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot, and for those at home who may not even be familiar with it,
Okay.
let's kind of take it back.
All right.
Give them some grassroots information about how it all got started.
Sure. So we are an umbrella organization. So that means that we are an organization of organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So we are 25 years old.
Okay.
And our members are primarily alumni associations of primary, secondary, and tertiary schools in Jamaica.
Wow, that's
So-
really,
yeah.
really interesting, actually.
Yeah, we also have a few community-based organizations, I'll call them. They are either affiliated with a school or a group of schools or no schools at all. They simply serve a community.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have a few organizations that are a part of us that simply want to be affiliated, but they're also based in Jamaica. Yeah.
So just so everyone at home is clear, these are schools not based here in America.
Correct.
They're all schools
In Jamaica.
in Jamaica, in different parishes of Jamaica.
All across Jamaica, all 14 parishes, all across, of which Wilma's is one.
And that's really
Yes.
nice, actually, because when you
Yeah.
think about it, even though we have a large diaspora here, a lot of
Mhm.
people may have spent their childhood or
Yes.
early part of their years and may have went to primary school, or what they
Mhm.
call primary school over there, but it's
Right.
elementary school,
Mhm.
and still remember a lot of their schooling from over there.
Absolutely. I think it's because for many, many years, most of us only went to high school. Okay, and so those became extremely important years in terms of forging lifetime friendships, and school was just that tremendous experience that folks want to remember and pass on.
Absolutely.
So I think that's why the alumni associations are so strong.
So, Hubert, tell us about Wilma's a little bit.
Wilma's has been around for a very long time. Wilma's was established in 1729.
1729?
Yeah.
One of our oldest schools.
Yes, long before the
goodness.
American independence.
Yes, yes.
And it's a great school, similar to what Leslie Ann was saying. I mean, some of my fondest memories were at Wilma's. It's really three schools in one.
Okay.
There's Wilma's Boys School, Wilma's Girls School, and Wilma's Prep.
No.
So
Okay.
we're under Wilma's Trust.
Okay.
And our organization, the Wilma's Alumni Association, has been around since 1972. Where we have 27 students formed this association. So it
That's
actually
really
been around
nice.
for that's about 44 years actually.
Yeah.
It's a
Yes,
long time,
yes.
so
Yeah.
a lot has gone on over that time. And looking back at Wilma's, what's the highest grade of education that you can get there? That would end like the equivalent of high school ending.
It goes a little bit beyond the 12th grade. So here would be 12th grade. But
Okay.
I must tell you, once you get to a certain point, then you're what we call like sixth form. And the sixth form is pretty much like the equivalent of college in the
First year
United
of college,
States.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we call it grade 13 sometimes.
Right.
Yes. So it's just a little bit beyond 12th grade.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and now that we're speaking about Caribbean education, or specifically more on the British, there's still a lot of the British system, because my family in Trinidad, they follow
Right,
the same
right.
the same system. But do share some of that insight, because even myself, we hear first form and O levels at and we're lost. I know middle school, high school, junior high. That it's kind of more cut and paste here. So why don't you share with everyone really how the education system in the English-speaking Caribbean islands are more set up?
Okay, so the primary schools are equivalent to the elementary schools here, okay? And secondary then, so primary would take you up through junior high, maybe, okay? And then high school is equivalent to grade 7 here. You start in 7 through 12, okay? And then on to that those upper levels that we were just talking about. So that would be secondary, okay, or high school here. And then beyond that, of course, is tertiary, which are your universities and such. The primary difference, I think, at this point in the education system is, although, you know, Jamaicans, we take the SATs too, and
Really?
oh yes, because many of our students are looking, if not
To go away.
you know, because they are aware of the value of education, and there are so many more choices here, for example, in the United States than there are in Jamaica. And although Jamaica does pretty well in the tertiary space as well, but they do take a different set of exams that are based out of England still, and some also based now developed in the Caribbean. So slightly different set of exams, but very, very challenging.
I can imagine.
And, you know, it's the reason that so many of us recognize the value of that very rigorous training that we received, because it has served us so well, you know, as we have migrated and gone on.
And I have friends and family members who've come up here after they've done a certain amount of schooling over there. And they would be like, we learned that
Oh yeah,
2 years
ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yes.
you're only in third grade. How did you learn that in first grade? But you really do see the system. And I think personally, I see like there's more testing, like CXCs and all that stuff. And there's more vigorous exams. And I think the prep is just, even though here the opportunities are more, I think they teach you a little bit more at a younger, or cram more into
you know,
it.
We start school typically at 3.
3?
Yeah, that's what we call the infant schools and the basic schools. And that actually is the focus for UJAA, you know, whereas the alumni associations kind of take care of their particular schools. UJAA takes care of those schools that typically don't have alumni associations. So it's the basic schools and the primary schools primarily that we give our attention. But yeah, we start at 3 is where the basic school starts. Yeah, so you know, it's the counting and the alphabet and the beginning of reading, and all of that starts very
that's
early.
still daycare.
Oh no.
You're in school.
Oh no, we're in school.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
there's lots of, but you see, there's lots of play that also goes on, because there's learning in play. Okay, so it's a very structured play, if you will. But yeah, we start pretty early, always have.
And is it somewhat like here where you have to pay to get into these, or is education free?
No, education is not free. There are schools that are supported by the government, but there are also schools that are strictly private and independent. But I will say that the great majority of schools have some level of government support, but not totally. Okay. So it is up to other entities, I will say, within the school system that provide additional support, like the PTA.
Well, hold that thought. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Stay with us. Back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel. So Leslie Ann, as we were saying before we took a break, wanted to go into a little bit about UJA's role in terms of how they even, not how, for instance, but why they got started.
Sure.
Because we know education, we know about alumni, and then we'll also get into WOLMAs as well. But
What was the genesis?
What was
Let
it?
me share with you. It was actually the brainchild of the Consul General of Jamaica at the time, the Honorable Derek Heaven, who I think got really concerned about being invited to so many events by the various alumni associations, and there were always conflicting schedules.
Okay.
It was a very, very practical, kind of issue. And his thought was, we need a better way for these groups who have something in common to work together. And so 16 organizations came together, of which WOLMAS was one. And, we drafted some bylaws, developed a vision and a mission, and the UJAA was born. It's just that simple, really.
I'm sure you're making it much more simple than it actually is.
No. But we were created in 1990. So we've been around for 25 plus years now at this point. But that's still a very important part of what we do, because we have 45 organizations that are a part of UJAA at this point. So part of what we are actually trying to do is to collaborate, so that there is no need for one organization necessarily to have events. 2 or 3 can put together, and make it work. And so we are building collaboration and cooperation as part of the whole union. So the other thing is that by virtue of the fact that we are trying to focus on an area in education that is not supported by any other, there would be really no other way for us to do this, okay, other than us putting together to support. So from a very practical perspective, we are able to do together what we could not do by ourselves.
Alone. Because it would just be
Exactly.
too many of you trying to go for the same
things. Exactly.
And that always kind of reminds me a little bit of CARICOM. And I always look at it, I'm like, the islands are too small to really, when you have 20 individual islands trying to do something, whereas you
Right.
have one coalition where they all come together.
Yes.
You're
Right.
more powerful. You're able to accomplish a lot more.
A whole lot
to
more.
me,
Yes, absolutely.
personally, that always made. I remember always before CARICOM was created, but I would ask. I remember asking my parents. I'm like, well,
What do you
really?
think?
I'm like, why are they separate? Like I didn't know you couldn't just go and live in another island. And they're like, it's a separate.
Separate island, absolutely.
Separate. You
Separate
have to.
government.
You can
and
get deported from one island to another. I'm like, but it's all the Caribbean. It shouldn't be like that.
Should
but
be a lot easier, right? One
should
would
be a lot
think.
easier. But I do want,
Yes.
years later, you understand
Then-
that there's a little more of the economy and things that
Sure.
go into it.
Exactly.
But similar
exactly.
concept of everyone kind of working together.
Right.
Exactly.
And it makes it stronger. So with your branch, how long have you actually been affiliated with WOLMAs? You're the president, of course.
Well, I'm going in my second year.
Okay,
as
very nice.
president of WOLMAS, but I've been affiliated with WOLMAS since I came to the United States, since 1980. Obviously, on and off, different obligations, but I was always connected to WOLMAS, even if not attending the meetings. I would attend most of the fundraising activities, banquets, fairs, things of that nature. So, WOLMAS has done a lot for me personally, as well as other members, and just being a part of UJAA. You get so much benefit. You're listed on your website, so everyone of the other organizations can see what you're doing. They support you, and I must commend UJAA. UJAA is everywhere.
You're doing a good job.
Oh,
certainly
and our president, God bless her. I don't know. She must clone herself. And when she's not able to attend those events, you can always count on somebody else from UJAA attending those events. So we're truly blessed to be a part of UJAA.
And I'm sure there's alumni from all over, because I think I read somewhere there's more Jamaicans outside of Jamaica than in Jamaica.
Yes, that is true.